Seni punya nyawa. Seni punya kuasa. Seni mencetuskan perasaan yang tiada taranya. Seni merupakan pemacu negara. Seni menyatukan kita dalam meraihkan dan menyalurkan tenaga kita ke haluan baharu. Pelaburan demi kesenian Malaysia adalah pelaburan demi jiwa kita. Seni mewakili sejarah terindah dan masa depan kita. Cendana mendorong kita ke hadapan. Dari sini, kita bangkit.
Hi and welcome everyone to Open Arts Classes brought to you by Cendana. My name is Yana Rizal and I'll be the moderator for tonight's session. Open Arts Classes are a series of art classes under Cendana's Arts in the City program. The Open Arts Classes, or OAC, are held from 29th October to 21st November 2021. The OAC features the country's leading arts practitioners to share with you their insights and expertise in their field. If you'd like to find out more about the OAC and Arts in the City, do visit www.baskl.com.my/AITC. Now, before we begin, let's go through some house rules for the session. To ensure clear audio quality, we will mute your audio and video throughout the session, except during the question and answer session. We will also be recording this session. Please share your question in the chat box and the moderator will put forward your question during the Q&A session. Please respect all participants throughout the session and please introduce yourself in the chat box. We would also appreciate your support in filling our survey feedback form. Link will be given in the chat box. Please avoid using crass language, unconstructive feedback, and or leaving spam comments. Failure to respect the session, the organizer reserves the right to exclude the attendee from further participating in the session. All right, we have a great session today titled Contemporary Warriors, featuring Alena Murang and her band, where we'll talk a little bit about how they endeavor to present Sapeh music in contemporary ways, learn a bit about the history and also basics of the Sapeh, how to pair traditional and modern instruments, and also step-by-step process of music production. So let's give a brief introduction to our speakers today. Alena Murang is the first and among the few professional female Sapeh musicians. Singing in the endangered Kenyah and Kelabit languages, Alena uses music as a way to tell old and contemporary stories of her people. She has played at festivals worldwide, including Taiwan, Iceland, Australia, the US, and also Panama. Joshua Maran is a multi-instrumentalist, music producer, composer, performer, and music teacher. He has been actively involved in the local music scene for over 20 years, playing in, composing, and producing for many bands and artists. In the last 7 years, he has helped pioneer the Kelabit tribe's efforts in heritage and language preservation through music production, music education, folk song, harvesting, and documentation. Whereas Jonathan Wong-Kiat-Shin is a multi-instrumentalist and music educator. Predominantly a stage performer, he is fluent in jazz-adjacent styles such as contemporary world music, jazz fusion, and also improvised music. He has performed at festivals in Malaysia, Thailand, Taiwan, and Australia. Off stage, Jonathan is a music teacher, transcriber, and music arranger. Now, without further ado, let's welcome our special speakers for tonight, Alena, Joshua, and also Jonathan. How is everyone today?
Hey, we're good. Thank you.
All right, good. So glad to see everybody is in good spirits. Now, before we start, we'd just like to first take a photo with everybody in the session today. Can we have everyone, all the participants also turn on their cameras?
Happy Deepavali, everyone.
Yes, happy Deepavali.
Hi, Dad. I saw you.
All right, great. So we'll do a countdown to 3. So everybody, please just look at your respective cameras so that we can take a screenshot. So we'll do a couple of these. So 1, 2, 3, smile. Okay, let's do another one. 1, 2, 3. Oh, can do your poses as well. All right, just one more. All right, 1, 2, 3. All right, so let's begin. Over to you, Alena, Joshua, and also Jonathan. Take it away.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us tonight and spending your Friday evening with us. Our session is called Contemporary Warriors. And in this time, we'll be sharing with you a brief approach to producing the album Sky Songs. Sky Songs was released in April this year. And we're going to share with you our approach to, I think it was 3 songs from the album, 3 quite different songs. And yeah, with me here are Joshua Murang and Jonathan Wong-Ket-Shin, who are very instrumental in the album as well. So Josh and John, if you have anything else to add, otherwise we can go straight into the session.
I would, yeah. It's brief. It skims off most of it, but it's a good introduction, I think. So please ask as much as you want and can. Just ask later, okay? Or in the chat. We'll be here. Thank you.
Hi everyone, this is our module for Independent Music Program. We called this session Contemporary Warriors because through music, through creating and through playing, that's how we best express and communicate. I'm Alena Murang, and with me today are Joshua Murang and Jonathan Wong. And we have been working together since 2016, writing, recording, performing. And today we'll share with you a little bit about our process and our approach to how we do things. But before that, we'd like to share with you who we are so that you can understand how we got to where we are. And I'm going to let John go first.
Thanks for letting me go first. So I had a little bit of a late start. I picked up guitar at the age of 16, but I loved it so much that I just, I was always playing guitar. Like every chance I got, I was on the guitar, and because I really enjoyed learning music, I really enjoyed playing music, especially performing music, especially, and so naturally I decided that I wanted to do music as a career, and that I wanted to go to uni for music. And it was a classic case of my parents not being sure of what music, a job in music would be like. They had no idea, and so naturally they were a little, they had their doubts, and I stayed in Sabah to do my A-levels before going to do music anyway, because by the end of my colleges I was still sure that I wanted to do music as a career. And so I moved to Cheras in 2012, did music at uni, and I continued to seek out opportunities to perform, anything from wedding gigs, corporate functions, to the odd cafe gig, the pub gig, that sort of thing. And eventually, through uni, I got to meet a lot of like-minded individuals who work in the same field, people who share a love for this craft, for the arts in general. And so I ended up sharing a house with some of my classmates, fellow musicians, and just one day we had a room that went free, and in came Joshua Murang, who was this lovely old chap, this nice guy who had just come back from the States, right? Not too long since you came back, and so you moved in. I got to know you as a friend outside of work, and I think that is a big factor in us that has brought us here today. The fact that we're working together. So we got to know each other. We became best friends forever, and got to do more work together. We started teaching together. We did a workshop in Barrio together, and we started doing shows. And I had been hearing of his work with Alena, and how they were working on songs that would eventually be the first album. And naturally I was fascinated because she was playing music from Borneo. That's where I'm from as well. And if you know any of us, any Borneans, you know that we are very loudly proud of where we're from and who we are. And so it was a no-brainer for me that when I was eventually asked to play a show with Alena, I jumped at it because this was a chance to play music from where I'm from, a chance to represent the people who come from where I come from. And so we started off with, I think the first show we've ever done together was the album launch at Timbre, I think, right? And and we had the odd show here and there after that, but eventually things got more regular. We started meeting up more regularly. We were getting more shows, and therefore we were also rehearsing together more and more. We had more musicians coming in, and eventually it's all been refined to what we have today, like the band we have today, the sound that we have today, the music that we are writing today. So as I got more involved in the songwriting, I got more involved in recording some of the music. I got to track guitars for the album, and by the second album, I got to arrange a song for the album, and so we're still going to this day, and who knows what the future holds. Joshua Murang, how did you get here? Like where?
I'm one of those people, those annoying, very annoying younger siblings who, if you play piano, I will learn piano. And if you play guitar, I'll learn to play guitar because I find it fascinating and I find it very, I was the youngest in my family. So my sisters played piano, I wanted to play piano. My brother played guitar, I played a bit of guitar, but I wanted to play drums. So I grew up musically playing drums in a lot of rock bands, metal bands, fusion jazz, some R&B bands somehow accepted me in, but I was as a drummer. And in 2008 or so, 2007, Alena and I were in this band called Kanid, which means cousins, and it's a huge band, and it was to play at the Rainforest Music Festival. I had no idea what was going on there. So we just went, two of us from KL, we flew there, and you know, all we know is, okay, look, we are half club it. That's it. And then we played the show, and that was that. And then we did our own thing, you know. I went to music college too, and to study some of these things, and then when I came back, I bumped into Alena somewhere. It's like, oh, you came back. Oh, yeah, I came back. Oh, you grew up, and you know, all these things. It's like 10 years later almost. And then she said, hey, what do you think about doing an album, something along the lines of that? I said, yeah, let's do it. Having absolutely no idea how to do that, or we had no reference. I'm this rock guy. But we did know who we were or who we are. We know who we represent. So we went with that. So we just honored that. And that's how it started. And then, yeah, I moved to Cheras for a few months and met Jonathan, Jazzman Wong. And yeah, it was, it started on friendship. It's relationship first. We didn't meet as musicians really. And that's where we went from. And that's where we still are really. Yeah, that's a brief one.
Yeah, as for me, I started learning sape in the year 2000, mostly because my cousins and I, at the time, we were learning traditional dance, and then later on, we were learning kelabit singing from the aunties. And back then, my household, my parents, actually hardly listened to sape music. There was only one CD recording, sape CD recording available at the time. And we listened to a lot of American country and folk music. My older brother listened to a lot of rock music, which he made me listen to also. And yeah, those were pretty much my influences growing up. And although being a musician was a dream to me, because I saw all these musicians from around the world that would come down for Rainforest World Music Festival in Kuching, I thought that, oh, I would really love a life like theirs, but I just never thought that I could be a professional sape player. It's not something I knew how to dream of. So I never actively pursued it. I studied business management and then wanted to be a visual artist. And I moved to KL for a corporate job. And later on, just took opportunities in music that came my way. Just a few people knew that I played sape, and the opportunities came. And very long story cut short, I ended up playing music and playing sape with my friends. But all the details of that I'll share for another day. Yeah, so let's get right into the session. Hi everyone, thanks for tuning in. I want to share a little bit about how sape works, a little bit about the basics of sape, so that you guys can get an understanding of then how we put sape music in with other instruments. A little bit about the history of the sape. Now, we don't know exactly how old is the sape, but there is a little story behind it, a little bit of folklore. There was a traditional healer whose wife one day fell very sick and he couldn't heal her. And one day as he fell asleep under a tree, in a dream it came to him that when he woke up, he would carve out a part of that tree and make an instrument like this, and then start playing certain tunes to his wife, and then his wife would be healed. And that's exactly what he did, and indeed his wife was healed. So since then, the sape has been used for traditional healing ceremonies, and that's no longer practiced very much anymore, maybe a little bit in Kalimantan, but not in Sarawak. So I don't know very much about that sape. Now, there are two types of sape. One called sape Bali, which is spirit sape, and one is called sape kanjet, and kanjet means dance. So that's the sape that's used more for entertainment and not for ritual purposes. The sape that we play today is sape kanjet. Sape Bali is a different shape and the fretting is different also. Yeah, so there's a lot more I can go into that about, but I think that's enough for this session. And I started playing sape just over 20 years ago. And since then, the shape of the sape has changed quite a bit. It used to be a lot bigger than this. So in recent years, maybe in the last 10 to 12 years, sapes have become smaller in size to fit into car boots, to fit into the plane, to fit into guitar bags or bass guitar bags, just more for practicality. And also, long time ago, 20 years ago, when I learned, we didn't use guitar tuning pegs. We actually used, to tune it, it was like a hole here and then fishing string wound round kind of this long stick, and you have to like hammer it into the hole. That was very difficult back then because the tuning pegs were very, very sensitive. And what else has changed? Of course, the electrification. This sape uses an acoustic pickup, which means that it picks up the resonance in here. Because the sapes have become smaller, obviously the resonance becomes less, and this is where we get the sound from. So yeah, I've used an acoustic pickup on this one. My other sapes use electric guitar pickups, kind of like this. As you can see, this is a very baby sape. So that pickup over there, it's an electric pickup. The strings, I use now guitar strings. This is, they're all in the gauge of G. I use the G string for this. And, oh, very importantly, I still play more or less the traditional sape. Traditional sape is 4 strings, whereas contemporary sape is 6 strings. And the traditional scaling is pentatonic major, like this. Whereas contemporary sapes these days, you can find it with chromatic scaling. That's all the notes. So basically, if for example, in one octave, a piano has 16 notes, we only have 5 of them. The frets, they move. So you can take off a fret and we stick it back with beeswax, and that's the traditional mode. So we can move them when we want different notes as well, which I do sometimes. And the tuning, so there's no standard tuning for the sape. There's no standard key for the sape. I like to use D or E. The bottom string is in the key of D. The second string also in D. The third string is in A, which is the 5th. And the top string is in A, but the octave higher. So when you strum it, it's an open chord. So if you want to make the bottom string E, then it would be E, E, B, and high B, and so on. So what makes sape quite interesting is that it always carries the melody. And how we learn a song is melody first, and then strumming, and then ornamentation around it. So for example, a very basic song that would usually be the first song when you learn sape is called Put Burui, or it's also known as Datun Julut. This is the melody. And then with strumming, and then we put in what's called flicking. And flicking is a type of ornamentasi or ornamentation. is Liling, melody. And then with ornamentation. So that's basically how a sapit works. Again, this is just a very brief introduction, just so you guys can get some understanding into how we start to write songs on the sapit, and you know, we try to put sapit at the forefront, kind of shining as brightly as all of the other instruments, because there have been times where I've been invited to play with other bands or other ensembles and other musicians who maybe don't fully understand how a sapit works, and I've had to change, I've had to you know, change my tuning, I've had to change the way I play, like take away the strums, take away the top note, because people are not used to how the sapit works. So in the band, Alena Murang, we like to work around the sapit and work around how it is and just allow it to be itself. Yeah.
Some things that you might want to consider when buying your sapit, especially your first sapit, is first of all, of course, your budget. You can find a sapit for something between 600 ringgit up to 3,000 ringgit, and that price depends on a number of things, including who the maker is, the type of wood, and the type of wood also determines the type of sound that you get from the sapit, whether there's electrification or not, and if there is, what type of pickup is being used, what is the quality of that pickup, how many strings. You can have 3 strings, 4 strings, 5 strings, 6 strings, 7 or 8 strings, or a double string. The mode of the fretting, so do you want pentatonic, diatonic, or chromatic? Of course, the design on it, and whether or not the design has been hand painted on or spray painted with a stencil, or if it's been carved, or if it's just a plain sapit. And the size of the sapit also. And those are the main things. I'm sure there's a couple of other details that I can think of a bit later on, but those are the main things.
So on to the next section with John and Josh about our philosophies, our approach when it comes to writing songs together.
In this section, we're going to talk about our approach, and we want to share with you our thinking process, our approach, our philosophies to songwriting, as an introduction to the section that comes after that.
Right. So with the kind of music that we do, I think, you know, we're often tied to labels like world music or folk, or, you know, we have all these labels and terms, but as far as songwriting goes, we don't think like that. We don't write in a specific genre. We don't try to fit into a mold, so to speak. What we try and do is to basically be ourselves, in that, you know, we are trying to bring forth what we are influenced by into our music. So yeah, it's just been a process of discovering our voice, you could say, our sound, as we sort of build the band, as we start writing more original music.
So when we started, we didn't have a reference for what we were supposed to sound like. It hadn't been done really by this tribe, at least. Not quite in this way. Not yeah. So as I mentioned before, it was more based on honor first. Maybe a better word is stewardship. The songs didn't start with us; it wouldn't end with us. So we are just in between here, stewarding one thing from I don't know, one age group or one group to another, and so on. That's what I mean by that. So when we write these songs or arrange these songs, some of them are original songs to honor who we are, each of us, and to honor who came before us. Some of them were songs that were written way before, like talking about hundreds or 1,000 years or whatever. So in rearranging these things, or it's really re-expressing, is that the right way to say it?
Yeah, probably.
It's an expression. It's not really an interpretation, because what I mean by that is, if I had a tattoo and somebody comes and tells me, nice tribal tattoo, I'll be like, no, it's tattoo. I'm tribal. You know what I mean? It's not, it can't be a reinterpretation of something that you're already a part of. So it's just an expression of something that came before, and this is our take on it at this time, based on what we have learned and what the makeup of who we are, as musicians, as people, as artists. So it was, when we started that first EP, the weight of it was clear. This is important to a lot of people. This is not for us, it's for a lot of people, That's where we started with, and that's where we're at still. So we don't write by genre. If the song requires something, we honor the song in the way that we feel honors it best. Yeah.
Exactly. And I just want to add on that if we look at our elders and the songs that they used to sing, there some of them are the songs that we sing now, but when, for example, my grandmother sang that song, she would change the lyrics and she would change a little bit of the form of the song to suit her context or to express something in her environment. And it was different from the song that her mother sang and her grandmother sang as well, just adapting to the times. And that's exactly what we're trying to do as well. And moving on to the next section, this is where we're going to break down the songs, some of the songs that we've written together, to share with you the songwriting process. And I think from this, you will see how much thought goes into honoring each part of the process of songwriting. In this section, we're going to share with you 3 songs and kind of how we built up the songs and how they came to life.
A warrior watching the mist rise in the horizon.
The first song is Warrior Spirit, and a few years ago, I learned a Khmer folk song for the dance of the male warrior. And I found the song a little harder than usual to learn. And one day during jamming, I was jamming with Josh and John. And I think it was at a jamming studio. Joshua has another memory of where it was at, but it doesn't matter where it was at. It was like between songs, and I was just messing around with one of the riffs from the Khmer folk song that I was learning. And then Josh, maybe you can share your memory of what went next.
Yeah, actually I was asking for a different song, remember?
Vaguely remember.
Because I had this song in mind from memory. I saw you play it one time. And I said, hey, this song, what happened to this song? Can we work on this one? And then you played that difficult. And I was like, that's not it, but please go on. So I just kept going. And then we started riffing over it. had this guitar. I had no idea what was going on with the song or where it was going, but it just became itself very quickly. Like really felt that's how the song wanted to go, you know, and it went like that. And I remember John was there also. And
Yeah,
I don't know how he thought of.
No, I mean, it was an interesting tune, like, but it came up, we were just jamming it, and then the next, as I remember it, the next time I heard the song, it was after Josh had laid down his guitars, and yeah, I remember that being the next time I heard it. Like, you had already worked on it, you added your stuff.
I had some guitars, remember? Then we straight away performed the song with kind of a loose arrangement, because at that time there was a different drummer playing. We didn't have a bassist, and we were just trying to feel it out and trying to figure out what is the identity of this current, where we hit it anyway. So we just left the arrangement open. Like every show was a bit of a surprise. Yeah.
And then John laid down the solo, right?
And so in the end, the drum parts I played, and then Herman joined us. After Herman, Jimmy joined us, and then it became like that.
I remember when Herman laid down the bass track and I heard it for the first time during the first MCO, and I felt like I had tears in my eyes because it just sounded incredible. It sounded like something I couldn't even have imagined. It sounded so powerful, you know? So the process of that song took 2 years, maybe?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. But it really became something at the end when everybody was there.
And then it came to naming the song, and it was an instrumental song. So I don't remember why, but we decided we wanted an English name for the song, and the word spirit had been the title and the theme for our recent shows, and for me at least reflected a deep root of the work that we've been doing. And Warrior came in ode to the dance of the warrior, and warrior spirit just felt right. I think it was either spirit of the warrior or warrior spirit. And yeah, that was how warrior spirit came to life. The next song we want to share with you about is called We Watched the Clouds, and you can listen to it on Spotify, iTunes, all the digital platforms. And the song is quite different. I'll just share with you a little bit of the background of the song. So my dad actually doesn't know much of the Kelabit music, but in the last few years, he's also been learning songs from his elders. And he really, really wanted to share this benging with me. Benging is a type of Kelabit chant. It's a bit like a genre. And he shared a recording of his uncle singing it.
It can debit kapit evitro varian ko talon kilit nene we modur pet taping narit nang lapot. Ruit apot tela la mi biala pat ma sia sotana malit nene.
And also one of him singing it. And every time I would see him, we would sit down after dinner and learn the song, and eventually even learn the song over Zoom.
Mesing lam risu ena long paluan sukto anda mala aweta sini la rekan kadang la rekan iit nan ngakap luang nan ngakap liuk sok long paluan.
And this song was sung in the 1900s when our elders watched the clouds to tell of a good time to migrate to better lands. And I shared this track with Josh quite a while ago over email with the hopes of recording it.
And when I heard it, it was just this incredibly captivating rhythm. That's what I heard. Rhythm, you know. I was very excited. So let's do this, you know. And it took a very long time. I kind of mulled over it for a long time, you know. And in my head, there was going to be some sort of like anthemic chant, you know. Many people singing and you know, or a rap of some sort, something like that. But mainly rhythm, you know, just rhythm. And then my problem was, like Alena mentioned before, you know, people change the words, people change this for, it is common to change certain aspects or points to express, you know, at different times to different people. So this song just became, it could have been anything. That was my issue, you know. I was excited about every little rendition, every version of it. And then in the end, Herman had to come and help me. And then both of us were like, hey, it can just become this. And we can. It just went on for 2 weeks. And both of us were like, what are we going to do with this? Like, it can be anything.
Meanwhile, I remember going like, just something simple. In my head, I had the idea of a simple chant.
We had gone too far. But when it came time to, you know, to really decide, it wasn't that hard, actually. So we took out the things that maybe we thought we could leave for another time, you know, in a different setting, and just brought it down to the song. The question has never been, what do we do in the end, you know, like to decide. It's always like, we honor the song. That's what we do. We've done that and we will continue to do that. And so it became like that. And yeah, like this is how it sounds. This is the idea Alena sent me at first.
It can repeat rubaran ko talon kilit mine we mudor pet aping narit nangaok laput.
We play that first one, which was much slower. And then the second time she sang it to me, it was like this. This one was much faster.
It can repeat rubaran ko talon kilit mine we mudor pet aping narit nangaok laput. Lawe ruit naputala lammi balapat masya suktana malit. Minay na kami minelong sa luit nuite sinila rikan iit la rikan raya. Nan nga kapatit nan nga kapliyo suklong sa luit. It kan repeat ruparan ko talon kuramine we mudor pit tapeng dayeh nang nga uklaput. Nang nga uklaput laway war laput tala lammi balapat masya.
And then we did it line by line, because I was trying to find a rhythm that worked. You know, it could have been anything, like I said. So I wanted to find something that was musically coherent. Here are some layers, you know, how they were put together. Of course, we started with the voice, with Alena chanting this thing, and then, you know, the drums came in, and then after that there was some patches behind that Herman added in, some rhythmic patches that were added in.
It can repeat rabaran ko talon kilit mine we mudor pit taping narit nang nga uklapot. Lawe ruit lapot tala lammi balapat masya suktana malit.
And then Jimmy had his percussion, John added his bongos, and then there was bass, and there was a song.
That's how a song is birthed. I think it's with this song the most out of any song that we've done together that there was the most push and pull, because there was so many ideas and every idea I think was great. And yeah, actually I'm still excited to see how this song can go, you know, when we play it live or when we if we collaborate with different people. Yeah, it's a very different song than what we usually do.
It kan ribet kapet ribet rabaran ko talon kelet mene we mudor pet taping naret nangaok lapot na we ruet lapot tala mi palapat masyasok tanat malit mine na kami mine long saluet away kasini larikan Rikan raya nan ngakap patit nan ngakap liyo suklong saluit. It kan ribet rabaran ko talon ko ramine we mudor peta pingdaya nang naog lapot. Nang naog lapot lawer war lapot tala lami palapat mesia suk tanat melan. Laminator basing lam risu ina long paluan suktu anda mala aweta sini larikan kadang larikan it nan ngakap luang nan ngakap liyo suk long paluan.
All right, the last song that we want to share with you is The Making of Thunder and the Moon. This is also off Sky Songs. John, why don't you start this one?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it started with a voice note. So one afternoon, Alena sent me a song as sort of a reference point, and she also sent me some voice notes, and she asked me to write some guitar for these ideas that she was sending me. And so I did that. So I went
like
home
in
and
a few hours, I think.
Yeah, I very quickly sort of went through some variations, and I just settled on one really quick. Like I would usually prefer to sit with these ideas for a bit longer to come up with, you know, something that is well thought out, something that is, you know, a bit more unique and creative. But this sort of I found a variation, I guess you could call it, that I liked within a few hours. And so I recorded that and sent that to Alena, and
lyrics for this song a long time ago, maybe 3 or 4 years ago, but I was always stuck for a melody for it. Actually, I had a melody for it, but I was stuck on it, and it wasn't great. So I actually, right before the first MCO hit, I started building that song with Sarah Heng, who plays gucheng, the Chinese harp instrument. And then lockdown hit, and it was hard to write together. So Josh and I had actually decided that we didn't have enough time to put melody to these lyrics, to write a song and to include it in the album. So we had actually put a pause on that song. And then one day, early in 2021, I was in the car and I was listening to some indigenous Taiwanese artists on Spotify. And in the lift up to my apartment, I heard this riff in my head and I voice noted John.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, it was a different melody at the time, but it had a very similar shape. What we ended up with was something like. Right? So what I tried to do was basically we wanted something simple and short, not I guess not a long chord progression with, you know, it was more of a recurring riff kind of thing, like a cycling sort of idea. And so I guess one of the most obvious places you could go would be da 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 da. But I wanted something a bit different. I wanted to, I mean, that's usually the case for these things. Like, we are trying to find colors that we like. We're trying to find the right notes to convey a certain emotion, perhaps, you know. So I went through all sorts of stuff, but we settled on. Yeah. But it could have been anything. It could have been any. It could have been any set of notes, but this is what we ended up with. The directive I remember the most was Alena, you saying dark clouds, like dark grey clouds before a storm, and
I think that was the only directive.
that was
dark
what I was.
grey clouds before a storm.
Yeah, and so we settled on a time feel. Like we had a couple of ideas. We had it in 4, as in the count of 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. We had it in 3. We settled on the one that was more of a 3 or a 6 kind of. Yeah.
Yeah, John sent over that guitar loop in a 3 and a 4 to me. And I wrote the sapet line and tune over it. And I just felt like it was a bit weird. And I couldn't tell if it was a good weird or a bad weird.
I felt the same. Like, I wasn't so sure about the song in the beginning. Like, it was very early stage to me. Like, it was the first 2 bars that I had contributed. Alena, you know, it was just ideas as well, like very initial, early stage ideas.
And bearing in mind, this is all between John and I at that time. I was a bit shy to share it with Josh because I didn't know if it was just bad weird. Yeah, but we were running out of time to finish the album. So I was like, you know what?
This was like 2 weeks before, right? 3 weeks.
Yeah, I was so surprised.
Yeah, and I eventually sent it over to Josh. And hold on, Josh, before I get there, I just want to share a bit of the background of the song quickly. In traditional Kalabit, for traditional Kalabit songs, we have genres of songs. And in traditional Kalabit Ulin songs or love songs, the lyrics always have metaphors of the sounds of thunder, like the different sounds of thunder. And that is echoed in this song as well, the different sounds of thunder. And then in traditional Lako songs, the song always ends with the lyrics, Manidun di Lako, which means, this is my poetic story.
Laku ni dengar lagu sini gurap dalan tabuan mengerang lansi raw aku mebali sup tasuk do ribad bali labang pagang inan kayan Mikat mayu lito ini tainan apa Lubad mariu makroma tasukada Entah tak keluar di kenari tadinukat At mini utumpalang kulamunad Unad kan cakai umak pawa mata Rapat pawa mata ungo da kunani ribad kunani burur kodo unat na am takataru nari adangangai burak kumani don dilaku nitalaku takulung kolabit
I nervously shared the song with Josh. Josh, how did you handle that?
When she sent me the idea, it was a very rough voice note. It was called Bulan, and I had known it as Bulan also. I had known a different Bulan from 2 years before, which was different. So I was expecting to hear something that Sarah and Alena had probably worked on, And then she was saying, "Oh, this is just an idea, but it's not really quite how I imagine it. But for next time, do you think we could work on it next time?" Kind of thing. I said, "Okay." And then I heard the thing. Then there was snippets of John's guitar, and then that da 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 da, and some lines of Alena going bim ba bim bum bum. She's just like muttering words. But like I totally heard it.
Yeah. Oh, hi,
Yeah.
I mean, from that 1 minute, I got the song. Like, I had a very, very strong sense of the song.
Awesome.
I met the song, basically. It's like, I know this guy or this girl. You know, I know this song.
Right.
But it was called Bulan. After that, sometime later, we were talking about, we were reviewing options for album names, you know. We had started with Sky Songs, actually. And then we were going through other options, and then some funny stuff was coming out. And then Thunder in the Moon was there. I was like, Thunder in the Moon, Thunder in the Moon. You know, like, cannot let go Thunder in the Moon. And she said, oh, that's one of the things, the phrases, I think.
I was thinking about for this Bulan song.
Yeah, which she wrote down on when she was writing that song. I was like, okay. And then when it was time for me to go and deal with this song the next morning, because this was like 2 weeks before the album was due, actually. I said, let's do this, let's do this. And we all said, okay, let's do it. And I was waking up at 6:30 in the morning every day for that period. And I started working on it at like 8 o'clock. And it felt like I was there for 9 hours or something lah. Just seeing how this song was going to turn out. I thought it was going to be like a nocturne or a lullaby. That's what I heard, actually. Until she told me this Thunder and the Moon thing. It's like,
just hearing the title, Thunder and the Moon, right?
I understood it more. I got that also. I heard that the next morning. Actually, when I first heard it as Bulan, I heard it as a nocturne, as a lullaby, you know. It was something else. So when I sat down to do this thing for that 9 hours, when I was sitting down there trying to develop this song, it just developed itself, basically. And the idea went to, you know, thunder, and I was thinking lightning actually in my head here and there, and flashes of light. It was dark, you know, that's what I saw. Or maybe because it was so early in the morning, I don't know. But so the song became itself. And then I went outside to throw garbage, and then I heard some body tapping, some tapping percussive noises, and it was me. I didn't even know, and I was like, "Hey, this works. Let's put that in." And after that 9 hours, and I checked the clock, it had only been 1 hour. The song was pretty much done. It was done. I was like, what?
Yeah, I think I woke up to that song.
I sent it to them.
Sent me the song.
Yeah. Then everyone is just like, yeah, it's there. It's already there.
Yeah.
And then after that, I brought Herman. It's like, what should we do with this? Can we work on some vocals? Can we work on some this? And we did that. So this is the song that was closest to the deadline, but it was also the most confident for me.
Right.
Like I knew it. I knew the song.
The way it came, the way it just happened.
Yeah. It's like on any other day, I wouldn't have used these bunch of ideas in the song like this. Never. Like, like what? What's wrong with you? You know, but this worked out. It was beautiful. It's just a really beautiful experience.
Yeah. This is one of my favorite songs, actually, of the album. It's hard to choose, but at times it does become one of my favorite songs.
So a while ago, Alena asked online that if we ever got the chance to do a class like this, what would be the sort of questions that you'd ask, and what would be the sort of topics that you'd want us to be talking about. And interestingly, one of the questions that came up the most was how do you put guitar with sape? And I take that to mean how do you play guitar with someone who is playing sape, or maybe you're playing guitar to a recording of sape music. I think the simple answer to this is that it would be the same as any other instrument, in that what you should be doing is, first and foremost, you should be listening. You are listening for what's already there, but you're also listening for what else could be there. So one of the main questions that you'd be asking yourself a lot in these situations is, what else can I add to this music? So we're going to talk about some simple methods that you can use at home in your songwriting process. So I'm going to use the sape melody from Warrior Spirit that goes a little bit like... So when I first heard what the arrangement that Josh had done, and this is the arrangement that would end up on the album, I actually thought that with the guitars that he had already put in, that it didn't need any more guitar. I honestly thought that it sounded full, really complete already. It was very full. He had some very powerful driving guitar parts going on. And so what I ended up doing was just very minimal counter melodies and some very small chords. And I say small, but what I mean by small is just maybe you've got little diads like... So these are two things that you can do. You can play counter melodies, or you could play chords, and these are both very, very guitar things that you can do. So let's talk about counter melody. What I ended up doing was I played something like... So that's against... So what we ended up with was kind of... right? And so that's one simple way you could add to what's already being played by the sape. You could harmonize a melody in so many different ways, so that's really up to you. What sort of colors would you like to add? It could be any set of notes, like so. It could be, so that's just octaves. You could do, so like, or you could do, there's so many things that you can do. That really comes down to your taste. And now with chords, which is a very guitar, and I say guitar to mean a very guitaristic way of playing music. Most guitarists, I think, would have a decent understanding of chord playing. It's a very common role for the guitar in an ensemble, in a band. So let's start with something something simple. So we could do, say, we could start with something like, that's an F major, so you could do da 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 da. Yeah. Or you could change that up a little bit. So I'd go for maybe da 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 da. Yeah. So that's a very major sounding progression. You could go for something like so like a more minor kind of sound, a darker, sadder type of maybe just something like da 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 da. Yeah. So in these last two examples, we've got different tonalities, and what I mean by that is that in that first example, we had a very major sound, and in the second example, we had a very minor. And I want to talk about Thunder and the Moon because this sort of shift between major and minor happens a lot in that song. It happens a lot in the music that we play. That's not to say that we've invented this thing, this method in any way. What I'm saying is that we use it a lot. you would hear it a lot in our music. So in Thunder and the Moon, you have the opening sape line that goes something like, this is in D major. And what we ended up with was a guitar riff that was going. So I won't get into it too much, but what these chords do is that they leave a lot of room for change in that they don't suggest a major sound or a minor sound very strongly. This is just, if you want to get into it, that's a D power chord with a 6. And that second one, I think of it as a C6, but with a G in the bottom. So you've got C there, but what you end up with is, what that does is, again, it leaves things open, and so the melody can just be, it can be major or minor. In this case, so right, and a little bit later on, when Alena starts singing, that melody goes like this. Right? So that, if we think of that as being the same note, having the same root, and that's in this case D, we started on D major. This could be seen as a D minor, in that it has a flat 7. It's got this sort of sound going on. This is just a 5. So we could see that as a mixolydian in D. We could see that as some form of a minor in D. In this case, it's going against the same guitar part, it's going da 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 da. So it still works. You've got this very open sound that you could go major 1 second and you could go minor 1 second, and these are just very general terms, major and minor. There are so many colors that you could play around with. Another example in this song is in the, I guess you could call it the chorus of the song, where the melody goes from to so here you've got a very obviously minor sort of thing going on. This is in D. You have an F. So you've got this very obvious minor kind of color going on. And what's going on with Josh's guitar playing is that he's going D minor 1 for 2 bars, and then D major for 2 bars, and then back to D minor for 2 bars. This is a very simple example of this sort of modal interchange that you can do in the song, and that's just to mean that you're switching between one mode or one specific sound to another, and these modes would all share the same root. So what Josh was doing was something like a in time that would be right. So you've got this shift going major and minor, major, all while this is going on. So yeah, those were just a couple of simple methods, techniques, little devices that you could use in your songwriting at home. If you have any further questions, do ask us bring it up during the Q&A at the end of this session. We'll see you then. On to the next section.
So another very big part about this whole process of creating music or producing music is the mix and mastering, part of it. So very simply put, or basically put, mixing would be kind of finding the levels of the sound, so that they are kind of balanced and equal in a way, so that one doesn't overpower the other. And this involves like putting the position of it, like maybe this one should be more on the left, this one should be more on the right, this one's in the middle. Maybe this sounds too bright, it's not clear enough, or it's too bassy, so we cut certain things using equalization. And it's a play with frequency that happens sometimes also. But all in all, it's more of finding a nice balance that is coherent musically. It does take a lot of skill. It does take a lot of time to learn these things. So I've been working with Ian Corrin, who is from Golden Sound Studios. You might also know him as Reckless Escapades. He's an artist too, and we've been working together for a long time. Like I met him when I was 16 and he was 15. We were in high school at the time, and we both came from this rock background, and we were trying to make rock music at that age. And he was doing an album then, and yeah, we were just in the same indie, noisy scene. And yeah, just over the years, we worked together and we learned together. We ended up in the same music college, International College of Music. And then we went to another music college after that. We were both in Boston, in Berkeley. And when we both came back, we found a way to reconnect, and we started working together again. Yeah, on projects big and small, some concerts, some shows, some albums. But mainly we took a lot of time to learn each other's aesthetic, to build this working relationship, and also, relationship. We were friends, and trust is built. It takes time. It's not something that can just develop over an event or something. Not that I have found anyway. And so, yeah, we went through a lot, step by step by step. Like I said, over quite a few years. So when it came to producing stuff for this album, like I had worked with him on a different album, my own like little solo project when I was years ago when we were much younger, and Ian was on board for that. So we really fleshed it out over there. We got to know how we each work, and the preferences and the aesthetic was already done beforehand, over time. And we could play so close to the deadline, like we mentioned in Thunder and the Moon, 2 weeks before the album was due and whatnot, without having to be afraid. I wasn't that afraid, I wasn't worried, because I had confidence in what Ian can do. And we have a way of working where I will prepare this, and I know exactly what I want. I tend to get into every little detail, and he's very receptive, and he gets what I'm talking about. He's very musical as a mixing engineer, so there was no worry. There was trust in the ability to work. And so, yeah, when Thunder and the Moon was done, for instance, and we sat down to go through the mixing and mastering of the whole album, there was no panic. It was just it was a good experience. Just like, hey, nicely done, as usual. This is good. Yeah. Once again, I guess the thing I want to stress on is the relationship, and the trust involved gives confidence. You are sure that the product is going to show up as you imagine. Believe me, sometimes it doesn't work because different people mix audio differently, not in a bad way. It's just, it might not be to your producer's preference. And with Ian, we've worked it out, and he's just really good at what he does. And it's over years of trying together and trusting each other. So thank you, Ian. Thanks very much.
So we've come to the end of our session today, and what we really wanted to share with you guys is that we've come to where we are by really honoring who we are as individuals. And, our paths have led us to cross paths with each other. And it is by really honoring our gifts and being vessels for those gifts, creating from a place of honesty, taking opportunities that have come our way. We're not virtuosos, we're not masters in our field, and we just take those opportunities. And, I always say everybody has gifts, and it is our duty to step into them and to use them, and, use them even if you don't know where you're going, because that's okay. We here, we're not sure where we're going. Half the time we're not sure what we're doing.
we didn't imagine for those songs to turn out the way they did. We didn't imagine we'd be here sharing with you today. So just start something and do it out of, out of honesty and out of honor.
Yeah, and hopefully we've given some of you a fresh insight into some of the aspects of, just the overall process of songwriting and creating an album. And I hope that this demystifies the process a little bit. I certainly didn't understand how artists work and create, before I got involved. And now having worked with these wonderful people for a while, I've really been able to grow whilst being myself, and that is a real blessing and a luxury to have like-minded people that you enjoy creating with, that you are not only workmates with, but people that you can call friends. I think that comes when you're honest with yourself, and I think only when you are honest to yourself will you actually grow. Only when you're honest to yourself and your craft will you actually grow. So I hope you share your gifts, create art, find your thing, find your identity, find your voice, and ultimately I hope that you'll all take care of yourselves.
Yeah, don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to ask. Don't be afraid to try. Whatever ideas you have, we all started like that. You have an idea, you just find a way to materialize it. Overall, I mean, I agree with every single thing they both have said. So to add on to that, I would say honor and cherish your relationships, your friendships, because none of that is going to happen if you're alone in this thing, which you're not, which we are not. None of us are. So just try. Don't be scared. Just keep trying, and then you grow. You grow with others. The best way to learn is to learn with others, I found in my experience. And just carry each other, and that's how it works. Yeah. Well, thank you for joining us, and ask questions. Just ask. Don't be scared. Okay.
Thank you so much, Josh and John. It's really nice to just sit and chat with you, because actually we don't do this kind of thing very often, to sit and reflect about, how we've written something or what we've done or what we've gone through. So yeah, that's really nice for me as well. And for everybody watching, thank you so much for joining us and spending your evening. Please ask us any questions and all questions after this. We'd really love to hear from you.
All right. Thank you so much, Alena, Joshua, and also Jonathan, for that fantastic, and dare I say, it's actually very heartwarming sharing. So I'm sure there's a lot more questions from the participants that they'd like to ask. So we'll start with the Q&A session now. So for this session, we'll open the floor for participants to ask your questions directly live to the speakers. What you can do is you will raise your hands virtually on Zoom. So you just go to the reactions button and you'll find a little raise your hand icon. So you can do that. I will call your name out by order. So please have your camera on and also unmute yourself to ask your question. And please also do introduce your name before the question as well, so we know who we're addressing it to. If you have any unresolved questions in the chat, please raise your hand as well so we can start asking. So yeah, let's begin. Anybody have any questions to start with? All right, so yes, Mr. Mu Guan Hee has a question. Maybe you can start with him first.
The question.
Yeah, hi. Actually, I want to ask something not about music. Like, I want to ask, maybe you guys have a Discord? Like, maybe I can join and then we can discuss more and learn something like that. Yeah.
I don't think Alena has also. John, do you have Discord?
No, sorry.
I have no idea what Discord is.
Oh, really? Oh, okay.
It's a kind of bread.
It's kind of like lots of gamers, it actually is something kind of like not really like blah, but actually like also can communicate in these apps. Yeah.
Like a chatting or a call.
No,
sort of.
none of us use that. I'm so sorry. We really don't. I'm so sorry. We are not that far ahead.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Where are you from? Where are you from? Where are you from?
Oh, I'm from Sabah. Sabah KK.
Oh,
KK?
hey, you're here.
Yeah, Kota Kinabalu. Yeah.
Oh, you're close to this clown. Like,
yeah. So actually, because why I asked this question because actually also something like in Chinese, right? In Chinese music industry in Malaysia, we also start to doing something like, because Chinese songs in Malaysia not really famous in other countries like in Taiwan and China like that, and then they form a group, maybe something like that, and then they have a Discord, and then we can discuss a lot of things in the Discord.
understood. Okay. I can actually understand that, and I can address that. There are a lot of people who are working on their roots. Chinese, not Chinese, club it, not club it. Everybody is working on it. You just gotta find a bit more. Go find me. Find me later, I'll tell you who. Okay?
Right.
Okay. Thank you.
So, thank you, Mr. Ngugwanhi. So I think we can move on to the next question from Anne-Marie. If you can please turn on your camera and unmute.
Okay, hi everyone. So my question earlier was, when you have disagreements or you have various suggestions on how to proceed with the song, who wins and how do you maneuver such situations?
Should I take this?
Go ahead, start.
Yeah, sure.
It's always about honoring the song, Anne-Marie. It's always about honoring the song. So, a lot of us come from different bands. Me and Alena is different lah, because she's my responsibility. But me and John, we learn music and we play a lot of stupid stuff. Like we play a lot of stupid stuff.
Yeah, we had a lot of
silly
shows
stuff.
together and that sort of stuff. We grew a lot together.
Yeah.
And the fact that we've built that friendship already, like the fact that came first, it makes working together a lot easier. It makes disagreements or maybe just discussing the different opinions that we have, it makes it a lot easier because we've spent enough time with each other. We've grown this understanding for each other.
Yeah. When it comes down to Alena's stuff, our stuff, like our club it stuff, we honor our songs and we honor the tribe first. That's how it works. So we do disagree a lot.
We disagree a lot, and we discuss. It's about we find.
And then it's okay. Literally, it's like this, I tell my mom.
It's a family affair. A lot of the times, it's a family.
That's where it goes. At the end of the day, if we fail as humans, I tell my mom, I tell my dad. Then we see how it works. It never really goes to that though. We have disagreements, but we never go that far because when we started, we were very clear about what we're going to do. Yeah. It might be different now, but I don't know. Ask
you.
Alena. Thanks,
Thank you.
Anne-Marie.
Thank you, Anne-Marie.
Thank you. Sir.
Thank you. So we'll move on to the next question from Alex Ong.
Hi, yeah. So I have this question about so you guys fuse traditional instruments and music with some new school elements. Will you guys be afraid of offending the roots of the traditional music and the culture? And if so, how do you deal with it?
First of all, it's important to first know what the roots are. It's not just a matter of taking the instrument, taking a song at face value, and then, whatever you want to call it, jazzing it up or changing it. But we do a lot of research, and as much research as we can. We talk to the elders, our parents, about the songs, what the lyrics might mean, when they were sung, who might have sung it, in what context it might have been sung. We always check if it's okay for us to change that song and to change it up a little bit. So we do a lot of research, and we talk a lot amongst ourselves and amongst the elders also, just to make sure that we're going the right way, in a way that honors the song and honors the people. Yeah.
Alex, where does this come from, actually?
So it's like I produce music and myself, so I always wanted to express myself with rap and like hip hop music. And then there's this like there's this thought of like scared of, if I do this and then the hip hop culture of certain area will be like, oh no, it's like this is not how we do this and do that. So it's like I'm afraid of offending. Yeah, it's like I don't know. It's like I'm afraid of offending people.
Okay. No, I got that totally. So it's like this. Doesn't matter.
I understand where you're coming from, because lately there's been a whole thing about blackfacing, right?
Not necessarily about blackfacing. It's about like how you do stuff. It's not necessarily about the content, but it's like how you present the art. Like, yeah.
Alex, I got this one. Okay, so my mix engineer that I always work with, his name is Ian Curran, and he works with his company is Golden Sounds. Okay, so this guy, like when we were 15, when I was 16 and he was 15, we were doing a lot of rock, emo, okay, when we were young. Okay, that's a lot of, if roses are beautiful, why do they have thorns? This kind of stuff when we were young. We both went to Berkeley, okay? We both learned a bunch of things. And when we came back here, our friend, Ian, he learned hip hop in New York, in LA, and am I right about that later? Is correct? No, you don't know. Okay.
I'm not sure.
Okay, maybe New York for sure. He cut his teeth as a mixing engineer in New York. That's not a thing that most people get to do. But we are, when we all came back, we did these things based on a New York hip hop person's ear, and it's not like you do hip hop and you lose, like, oh, you cannot do rock. No, it's not. You will learn certain things and you just do your thing. Reckless Escapades, that's him, He's brilliant. Like, he does all this rock stuff, and we have done all our stuff together. We have done many bands together, like grunge, metal, Alena. But you just do the best you can. You just learn the best you can. There's no such thing as or it needs to be done a certain way. No, never. No, it's not like that. Push it.
You just try your best to, based on your understanding of the culture, of its background, like you try and navigate and with respect lah. That's the best you can do. It's hard to find that one right way to do it. In order to not offend anybody, I think that's a really difficult way to do things.
Yeah, push it.
Yeah.
Just push it. It doesn't matter. Like if you did the first thing and it was not so good, not up to your idea, do it again lah. So what?
Yeah.
So we did.
Yeah, and you can't please everyone. I think if you go in with the right intention and just keep going.
Yeah.
Push it.
Oh, thank you guys.
Thanks so much.
Right. Do we have any more people wanting to ask questions, to raise hands? If not, we can do a bit of a recap on some of the things that were mentioned in the chat box as well. So I think Mugwan, he also had a question of what if sape in EDM? So that's very interesting. So I guess we can kind of like expand on that a little bit. What if, is there a possibility of like integrating sape maybe to more far out genres, or by that same token, are there certain lines or boundaries maybe that you wouldn't cross in your music?
It has been done before, and there have been DJs that have mixed my music with, I think it's what we call EDM. EDM's I'm not very into the genre myself personally, but it has been done, and there are a lot of people experimenting with like other sape players experimenting with different genres and playing with different genres also. Yeah, so you can check all of them out too. I think just my thing is what we've shared with you today.
Yeah.
All right, great. There's also another question by Jodi. Who did the choreography for Warrior Spirit, and who designed the costumes as well?
The choreography was by myself, a dancer / sape player called Muniri, and also Nas Mantarang. So there's 3 of us working on it. And we wanted the dance to be reflective of the mass dancing that people do in the longhouses traditionally. We all dance together, and it was inspired mostly by the female hornbill dance, but also incorporating some of the male warrior dance moves into it, so that both men and women dancers could dance in our music video to the same move. And the wardrobe was done by Styla. They're an outfit called Styla, where the head stylist is Saera Rizwan. And it was art directed by our cousin, who was also the director, Sarah Dorai. Yeah, it was a huge team effort.
Yeah, it looks great. All right, so there's also another question that popped out on the chat box from Phoebe Sen. Moving forward from this album, are there any thoughts on expanding and experimenting with more sonic elements such as sound design and instrumentation?
Phoebe, come on.
Yeah, I think she's a bit... Where are you, Phoebe?
Phoebe.
Maybe she's a bit shy. So yeah,
that's a great question.
It is a great question, which we haven't even talked about between ourselves.
Hey,
I'd love to hear what you guys think.
Hey, Phoebe.
Hi, Phoebe.
Hey, hi, John. It's been a while.
It's been a while.
But yeah, hi, Josh. Hi, Alena. Yeah, I was just curious because I was listening to like all the songs and also in the session, and I was just really curious to see and to learn a little bit about, if you guys have any plans moving forward with just experimenting with different approaches, because I think with the little work that I've seen from Alena, especially with the visual stuff, it's really vivid. And so I kept thinking in the back of my mind, like there is so much texture and sound design that there's so much possibilities basically. So I was just curious to hear your thoughts and pick your brains a little bit on that. Yeah.
That's the thing, isn't it? Like it can be anything. It could be anything. What do you feel it should be? What's one point, Phoebe?
Man, I think at the top of my mind, I think a lot of ambient sampling, like heavy processing, and I guess the electric guitar, the guitar has so much potential to layer so that it doesn't even sound like a guitar at some point, or even the sape where it's processed. I think a lot of it is just in the production where it kind of builds the world building of it. There's so much possibilities with the songwriting because like
totally
the
right
traditional
there.
lyrics kan, it's so rich.
Where are you based?
I'm in KK. I'm in Sabah.
She's here.
Yeah.
She's right there.
Yeah,
No,
probably
you
like
are
10 minutes away.
totally right. You're totally right.
Yeah.
Phoebe, it's so great. Like, it's so great to hear. Hey, you want to join our band?
We should work on something.
I'd be like,
great idea.
I would love to see or something. But anyways, yeah, just
So
thanks for
it
sharing.
really depends on where we are at the moment, and I think in terms of what the music could be in the future, like it depends on our experiences lah, from now on until that point.
Sure.
It's how we've grown, and that's what we always try to do. Like we're not writing in specific genres or whatever, but there could be ideas that could lead in to that sort of, maybe towards EDM, towards like the areas that we've not touched on yet. But yeah, though we'll see.
Totally there.
Maybe Josh could end up having some sort of K-pop phase, and we could end up.
I don't see that, but
yeah.
No, it's like this. Like let's look at how we started, lah. From the start, we didn't really know. We were just like, let's honor this.
Yeah.
For God's sake, that's even before Jonathan was born, I think, because so the two of us, we were just like, oh, okay, let's do this. Let's honor the songs. Didn't know what to do. The first album was like that, and the second album was like, let's honor us a bit more. Don't know where it may go. It depends. We are just trying to honor our culture. That's all we got. Like we were just trying. We might fail. I think in some ways, yeah, we do fail, but try lah. We just try. Don't care. Just try.
Yeah, Phoebe, that's a great question, and I think it'll push us to do maybe something in that direction in the next year.
Yeah.
Don't commit to it yet.
I said maybe. Said maybe. it is.
So much.
I can
Thank
feel.
you.
Yeah.
Thanks, Phoebe. That's a great question. It's wonderful.
Thank you guys for sharing. Like, I really appreciate it. Yeah.
Oh, hey.
We're glad.
Go find John.
She knows well, no need to find.
Yes, okay. It's reopening kan, so yeah.
Yeah, we'll
But
see.
yeah, please
Hopefully.
stay safe, guys.
Stay
Thank
safe,
you for
everyone.
answering the question. Yeah.
Thank you, Phoebe. Thank you.
Great. So we have the next one from Muhammad Umar Akmal Zairul Hisham. He can't raise his hand, but maybe you could turn on your video and ask your question, unmute. Hello, Umar?
Hello.
Yes.
Hi, I'm Umar.
Yo.
So yeah, I'm actually. I think it's like a follow-up question from Alex just now. Like I don't know if it's the same question or a bit different, but I think I just asked lah. So my question is, what is actually your opinion on someone who is not from a certain group of people or ethnicity that using like indigenous instrument or like instrument that from a certain ethnicity, like for example a Malay or even a white guy using sape as one of the instrumentation for their song. Like what is the borderline between like being inspired by this instrument or like exploiting the culture?
Okay, it's like this. I got this.
Yeah.
Of course I do. I was born for this nonsense. Okay, so it's like this. No.
Okay, I'll go. So thanks for your question.
Yeah, I said no. It was good answer.
Oh, you went silent for a bit there.
I said no. Okay.
I think it's a very good question. I actually had a chat with Uncle Matthew about this. He's my Sapit teacher for the last 20 years. And I spoke to him about this last week. And he was telling us that for him and his group of elders in the community, the Kenya community, they really hope that people who learn Sape, anybody, they're happy for anybody and everybody to learn Sape, but for them to learn the traditional way, to really learn, you know, what is, you know, what was the values that the Sape teaches you, what are the stories behind every song, rather than just taking the Sape and playing it and putting it in a you know, contemporary song straight away. So even when they teach us, they say you should always know the traditional way first, and then after that you want to go and play contemporary or play whatever, you know, in whatever band, and go ahead. At least you know where you come from and where that instrument comes from. So yeah, I mean, apart from that, the community is very open for people to learn the instrument. Yeah. But I do also encourage people to learn, you know, the heritage that's close to them and where they come from as well, because that's your roots and your identity. And I think it's a very beautiful journey for you to go on.
Yeah.
Do you feel like if like you learn something that belongs to your culture, if somebody propagates it, is it a problem? I'm talking to you, Muhammad.
I'm not sure actually, because I think I quite agree that we have to like learn and know like where it came from first, like to even like play or, you know, commercialize it. But yeah, sometimes I get confused between is it right, like are we doing this right in the right way, because like we don't want to like offend anyone, even if we are from our own culture, like we don't want to like exploit it. Yeah, so yeah, it really depends on how we
You don't want to
Yeah, you're the guy lah. You know, like
Yeah.
I think that's brilliant. I think that's a good thought. It's very responsible, and I think you should.
That sort of awareness is, you know, a good step towards just learning and understanding and being better informed, like in the way that you are playing it, in the way that you are representing it. You know, you, as long as you don't want to exploit it, you should be able to find the right ways, the right people, you know, and end up in the right place, hopefully, as
And
long as
honor
your
it.
intentions are, yeah.
You just
honor
honor
it lah. Just be honest, you know, do you.
Hey, dude, that's great lah. That's awesome. No,
Thanks so
serious.
Yeah. Okay, so I think that's a really good point to end on. So that's all the time that we have for Q&A today. If you do have any further questions, you can also contact Alena and also Jonathan and Joshua respectively. So Alena is on Instagram at Alena Murang. So you can get in touch with her, and you know, she can pass it on to the rest of the two as well. So thank you once again to our instructors for today, Alena, Joshua, and Jonathan, for all your insights and all your sharing. Just a reminder for everyone that the open arts classes will be ongoing for the next 3 weeks. So do check out buskl.com.my for more sessions. We'll also be sharing the survey link in the chat box, so please participate as well. All right, hope everybody had a really good time tonight. I know I did. Hope to see all of you again in our other sessions. So have a good night and a good weekend to everyone as well. Thank you.
Thank you,
Bye.
everyone.
Thank you so much.
for having us.